Good morning. Welcome to this live proceeding of the Senate on this 16th day of October 2024. This is the 13th Parliament, the third session. This broadcast is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Edward Kabasa. We'll take a look at the order of business this morning, where there will be the reading of the charges on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. There will be hearing and determination on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency, the Deputy President. By a message received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Wednesday, 9th of October 2024, the Speaker of the National Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval by the National Assembly of the motion for the removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. By a letter dated 8th of October 2024 and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Wednesday, 9th of October 2024, the National Assembly submitted documents and records of the proceedings in the National Assembly. Among the documents which were submitted by the National Assembly include the notice of special motion and affidavit of Honorable Ekomas Mwengi Mutuse, dated 26th September 2024 and received on 27th of September 2024, running from page 40 to page 42. Also submitted by the National Assembly electronic evidence relating to the special motion contained in a flash disk order paper for October 1st, 2024, communication from the chair number 046 of 2024, issued on 1st of October 2024, the communication from the chair number 047 of 2024, issued on 1st of October 2024. Other documents that were submitted by the National Assembly included the certified answered and votes on proceedings for 1st of October 2024, communication from the chair number 048 of 2024, issued on 2nd of October 2024. There are also other documents that were submitted to the Senate by the National Assembly. The letters of appointment of advocates, one Swanya and Company Advocates for His Excellency the Deputy President, and Dunstan Omari, Advocates for Umorani Manufacturers Limited. The letter to His Excellency the Deputy President forwarding the notice of motion and affidavit of service of His Excellency the Deputy President. These are some of the documents that were submitted to the Senate by the National Assembly. By a letter dated 14th of October 2024, Swanya and Company Advocates informed the clerk of the Senate that the firm would be representing His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, AGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, in the impeachment matter. Further, by a letter dated 14th of October 2024, the Speaker of the National Assembly informed the clerk of the Senate that the firm of MSG&A Advocates will be representing the National Assembly in the impeachment matter. Via Gazette Notice number 13170 of 2024, dated 9th of October 2024, pursuant to Article 145, Sub-Article 3A of the Constitution, and Standing Order 78, Part 1 of the Standing Orders of the Senate, the Speaker of the Senate appointed the sitting of Wednesday, 9th of October 2024 at 9:30 a.m. as the sitting convened for the purpose of hearing the charges in the matter of the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Further, by Gazette Notice number 13178 of 2024, dated 9th of October 2024, the Speaker of the Senate appointed Wednesday, 16th of October, as the date for the commencement of the hearing, and further informed the public that the hearing of the matter shall run up to the conclusion of the hearing on Thursday, 17th of October 2024. If you're just joining us, on your screen is the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Emerson Jeffer Kingi. He is walking into the chambers to steer the business of the Senate this morning.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, tunakusihi tutazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Tunakuomba tuwajalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Clerk, do you have quorum? Sergeant at Times, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
If you're just joining us, the Speaker of the Senate has ordered the quorum bell to be rung for 10 minutes. And what happens in the background is that respective leadership of the House mobilizes members to walk into the chambers to allow the House to attain the requisite quorum to enable business of the Senate to proceed this morning. The invitation to the National Assembly to appear and be represented before the Senate during its investigations was served on the Advocate for the National Assembly on Wednesday, 9th of October 2024. The invitation required the National Assembly, if it chose to appear before the Senate, to file with the Office of the Clerk of the Senate by 5 p.m. on Monday, 14th of October 2024, a soft copy and 80 hard copies of documentation designating the members of the National Assembly being not more than 5 members, if any, who shall attend and represent the National Assembly in the proceedings before the Senate. 2, indicating the mode of appearance before the Senate, whether in person, by advocate, or in person and by advocate. 3, indicating the names and addresses of the persons to be called as witnesses, if any, and witness statements containing a summary of the evidence to be presented by such witnesses before the Senate. And finally, specifying any other evidence to be relied on. The invitation to appear and the affidavit of service is contained in the documents that the senators will be given for their perusal as they consider the impeachment motion that was filed against the Deputy President. Now, on Monday, 14th of October 2024, the Office of the Clerk of the Senate received a response to the invitation to appear by way of a letter dated 14th of October 2024 from the Clerk of the National Assembly, informing the Speaker of the Senate that the National Assembly would appear before the Senate in person and by advocate. The following members of Parliament had been designated to attend and represent the National Assembly in the proceedings. 1. Honorable Dr. Utiende Amolo, Honorable George Murugara, Honorable Samuel Chipkonga, Honorable John Makali, Honorable Zamzam Mohammed. The team of advocates representing the National Assembly are as follows. Honorable James Orengo, who is the lead counsel, Mr. Paul Nyamodi, Mr. Gumbo Eric, Kipkogei Moses Kipkemoi, Mudomi Thiankolu, Peter Wanyama.
Take your seats, honorable senators. I'm informed we do have quorum now. So we'll proceed with our session. Clerk, proceed to call the first order, please.
Order number 1, communication from the chair.
Senator Karungo and Senator Mtata, kindly take your seats. Now, honorable senators, I have a communication to make relating to the business of the Senate as scheduled for consideration during this very solemn sitting. You will recall that at a sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, the 9th of October 2024, I appointed today, Wednesday, the 16th of October, and tomorrow, Thursday, the 17th of October 2024, as the days when the Senate will hear the charges and investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, AGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, honorable senators will also recall that at a sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, the 9th of October 2024, a procedural motion for the alteration of the sitting time of the Senate for Wednesday, 16th and Thursday, 17th of October 2024 was moved and approved to facilitate the impeachment hearing of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Subsequently, via the Gazette Notice number 13178, I notify the general public that pursuant to Article 145, subsection 3 of the Constitution, and Standing Order 781 of the Senate resolved to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, AGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, in plenary. Now, honorable senators, regarding the hearing and determination on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Deputy President, a program has been prepared and appended to today's order paper. As is the tradition, and in line with the schedule of activities for an impeachment hearing in plenary, the Senate will hold a closed-door preparatory session to deliberate on the management of the investigation. The objective of the preparatory session is to ensure that the process is conducted seamlessly, concluded timely, and in line with the requirements set out under the Constitution and the Senate standing orders. Honorable Senators, during the pre-hearing, the parties, if they are present, all members of the public and the media will be expected to withdraw from the chamber and the galleries, and any form of broadcasting from the chamber shall cease forthwith. In accordance with the program for the impeachment hearing, the open session will commence at exactly 10 a.m. Consequently, I now direct all members of the public and the media to withdraw from the chamber and the galleries, and any form of broadcast from the chamber to cease forthwith. Kindly be guided accordingly. Thank you.
Members of this National Assembly pended their signatures in support of this motion.
All right, and welcome back to this special broadcast, this special time where the Senate is literally hours away from sitting, hearing, and determining that question on the impeachment of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Actually, as I informed you earlier, Justice Chachamuita did decline to stop the Senate from moving forward with the impeachment, arguing that the court will have its time once Parliament finishes with this process. I'm joined in studio now by two eminent lawyers, Kibe Mwengai and Dan Kanojwang. Gentlemen, less to say about what's happening. Everyone knows what has happened. But let me just pick your thoughts on these specific questions on why have we seen many petitions to try and stop this? This has to be the most sought after conservative orders that we've ever had in the country.
Yes, and of course, it is also without precedent. We've also never had an impeachment of a high political figure like a deputy president. Therefore, you expected that there would be many stakeholders. I don't even think these are all the cases that have been filed. More cases are likely to be filed because we are still going to other stages. We have now dealt with the initial stages. We are the Senate. The consequences for whatever decision the Senate makes, all that will attract cases. And for me, the fact that there have been all these cases, I guess I am familiar with at least 10 of them. It's also evidence of the fact that there are very serious issues that have been raised by this petition, and I believe we can discuss that as we move on. So there is no surprise in the fact that there have been so many cases. It's a high-stakes political case. The legal issues would obviously get very interesting as we move on. Today, the most important thing that happened, people are focusing on no orders were given. But for me, that's not the most important issue. The most important issue for me today is that the High Court asserted its jurisdictions to hear impeachment proceedings arising from the circumstances we are facing of the deputy president, and of course that follows any presidential impeachment. So what this means is this, that as long as the deputy president Gachagua wants to fight, is that, and these are petitions, this matter will not come to rest until the Supreme Court gets its final word. So the drama, the tension is likely to be increasing as we move on. You remember, the biggest hope for the group that is anti-Gachagua was that somehow you can prevent the Kenyan courts from dealing with impeachment. Of course, this was a far-fetched idea, not very well grounded in the Constitution, but it was more of political hope than the reading of the Constitution.
Right.
So that has been settled more or less today.
More or less, yes. Ojwang, what's your sense with what's happening?
No, I agree with Wakili. Cynics says that the more than 20 cases, because of course it's high stake, the cynics will say all those 20 cases, if you took those efforts to convince each senator, those will be 20 senators. But it is clear that the tactics for the deputy president have shifted more to the tempo of justice than to the parliament. Much of the effort, that is. And of course, it's high stake. We are a constitutional democracy. And therefore, the constitution also expresses the will of the people. And therefore, you can expect that in any constitutional democracy, that the role of the court, where do they come in, what is the design of our impeachment according to the constitution, and you realize that, you know, the same thing, court did the same thing in South Africa, Zuma impeachment, where they guided and then he resigned before the actual impeachment. But yes, courts have their role in the constitutional democracy, but again, respecting that the constitution have given this work to the arm of government called parliament. Because if we are in a, if it was a prime minister, it will be vote of no confidence. But we are in a presidential system, and who else is better to, so to speak, try a fellow politician than fellow elected leaders? The constitution could have given that to a professional body, ISPAC, LSK, but in their wisdom, they chose to give it to the fellow elected leaders for check and balance.
So there's still hope in some quarters, and maybe we can bounce it off. Is it a good idea for the deputy president to resign tonight before the Senate starts tomorrow? And this is hinged on the question of if he gets impeached, in the event he gets impeached, that politically then he has, you know, some bandwidth. If he does get impeached, then he doesn't have that kind of bandwidth, because then he gets bad for 10 years.
In many ways, if you ask me, from where, because there was an element in which he doesn't have a real political constituency. One of the biggest tragedy for the deputy president is that William Ruto was his entire political constituency. That happened with a lot of people in central Kenya, because this crazy decision where they went to UDA, they went to Kenya Kwanza without their own ship, without their own party. Ford Kenya went with a party, Amani went with a party, even Pamoja. Virtually everybody was going to coalitions with a party.
Right.
But the largest political constituency, I don't know what had took hold of them. They made this miscalculation that you could go to a coalition,
but maybe they own the party.
your own house.
Maybe they own the party.
No, they don't own the party. It is obvious. This party, the parties in Kenya, this one called UDA, we all say it's Ruto's party. ANC is Mudavadi's party. Ford Kenyas is Speaker Wetangula's party. There is another one of Mutua. This ODINGA has ODM. Kalonzo has Wiper. He has nothing. And for me, because of that, you would really be able to see that he has more or less reached the highest point he could reach. So it's not a situation whereby if you fought, you could lose a lot, because the way the politics are going, it is not like the chances that he could be president are very, very high. You see, I'm speaking as a person from
but
that.
what does that mean?
No, I mean it's exactly that you cannot say that you are going to another election. We saw in the voting, and I respect him a lot. Everybody knows that. But even as I respect him, the truth of the matter is, when you had virtually everybody being more loyal to you than to Gachagua, I'm telling you, if it was, who is this, Wiper, Kalonzo, or even anybody, even Wetangula, you could not see a situations whereby 90% of the Luya or the Kampa are not with him. So this is unprecedented, where you have seen, like, even starting with Nyeri, his own county, you had everybody not turning up for him, and therefore that's why I'm saying, without a political constituency, you could not, it is not easy to say that you are a viable presidential candidate. And therefore, proceeding with this thing, because there is now the sympathy vote, okay? Yeah. There is the issue. But apart from the sympathy vote, there is also the anti-Ruto sentiment. Because you see, what is happening in Mount Kenya is that if you, the more you appear to humiliate Gachagua, everybody, even who on a good day or a normal day does not support Gachagua, gets offended. All this is being taken against Ruto and everybody else who he was able to mobilize against Gachagua. Therefore, in the Maki, the idea would be this: he's very vulnerable right now politically, because Ruto is the only constituency. But Ruto could also be the same man who gives him a constituency, particularly if the deputy president is able to give up a good fight. And a good fight in court, because of the way the impeachment proceedings so far have been messed. And I'll tell you another mess that is about to take place at the Senate. It will be a very interesting fight in the courts.
All right. I want to ask about this, before we get to the politics, and just in terms of hygiene, how now the courts are obviously going to be asked to pronounce themselves. And we then find ourselves in a situation whereby the courts then have installed a deputy president back in office in obvious conflict with the political class. How does that play out? If that were to happen?
Yeah, and I think the impeachment responds to both political and legal issues. To what extent does court get into the details of impeachment? I think there is various view that they cannot get to the actual detail, maybe the process. People have various authority on that area. I think substantially court, law is meant to bring order. In fact, the word law and order has become a common synonym. So as the judge, they should find and judge in a way that law brings order and not disorder. Law regulates conduct, law brings order in the society. And so if Parliament say they have impeached, technically courts have the power to supervise constitutional duties. But is it prudent? Then are you going to, what are you going to say that is the reason? Because the Constitution does not provide the standard. it just provides the crime, and the biggest crime is violation of the Constitution, including the Article on 10 on how to unite the country, which is one of our values. So it is still not very clear how court can delve into this, knowing that this is also given to another branch of government by the same constitution, and the constitution have a lot of mechanism. They need a supermajority to impeach. You need a third to write that, to sign that petition. You need to move it to the Senate in order to convict. And therefore, there is a lot of inbuilt measures to do this.
So to get correctly, you're saying the courts really have very little to do with this impeachment?
We are not sure, but I'm one of the people who think that those who are pushing court are probably, we live in a constitutional democracy, and therefore, yes, court should be able to supervise the constitution. But practically, and even in terms of the constitutional design, this is a function that was given to the parliament. And the parliament is guided on how to do this impeachment. And there is measures towards it. And therefore, I'm one of those people who still believe that courts have limited role and not substantive role. And that's why I would rather that the deputy president team concentrated more in persuading the parliament, who have this duty and who have these safeguards and measures, rather than maybe, so to speak, putting all your eggs in one basket, that court will come with that magic bullet and overturn what the National Assembly and the Senate probably are going to do. So, for example, as a matter of sheer strategy, why will you look like you are belittling the Senate, which you are going to appear before and outrightly show you don't have hope in whatever they are able to do? Even if that judge is there, you are setting them up, because all these are constitutional bodies that are meant to do various functions.
Mm-hmm. I think it's an overstretch. Let me answer to that. The way it works is that the president, deputy president, the judges, members of parliament, they are either members of constitutional organs and they are state officers themselves. The president and the deputy president take two oaths. The oath to perform their functions in accordance with the constitutions, and the oath of allegiance and to be the guardians of the constitution. So that in impeachment proceedings, the first thing and the first hammer must fall on President William Ruto, in the sense that it is upon him that he was supposed to weigh the issue before you sponsor emotions against your deputy. Was this purely political motivation, or there were obvious crimes and infractions of the breaches of the constitution? That for the president failed completely, because he sponsored a motion that is purely political. Now we go to the second safeguard. The second safeguard is the National Assembly. The National Assembly plays the important part of sieving and being able to be satisfied that, in fact, there is allegations that are worth to be pursued by the Senate through a trial.
Right.
What happened at the National Assembly? There was no shame that and there was no even any pretense. The speaker and the deputy speaker were completely biased and part of the bandwagon seeking to oust Gachagua. Since you are part of the trial process, and I do not know because both of them are lawyers of some seniority, how they lost to the issue and they ended up being sacked. I'm sure Juang would never have done that. That a matter would be coming to you and you are saying you are part of the bandwagon. And we saw how any person who was pro-Gachagua was treated on the floor of the parliament. So that would be make interesting issue. But the bigger mess, because they made a mess of it in parliament, was that after, for some reason, Gachagua was able to call out these charges against him. On the day that they were discussing this thing, the 4 or 5 hours that they were at it, you could be able to say nobody was speaking to the charges. Nobody was dealing with the business of the day. Everybody was hoping that there was something against him that was not really there. So that at those two important levels, you've had a serious issue of constitutional failure. So the only issue now remaining, how will the Senate do its job? I told you, I believe there is somewhere where they must guard against, and it is important we say this because we want them to get right in the interest of the country. You saw this time when they were debating, is it going to be plenary or is it going to be the committee? Sifuna was invited, Senator Sifuna, a good lawyer and a respectable person on a good day. Sifuna said, I will not second it. Of course, those who don't understand how the game is played thought that, like there's some good hope in Sifuna. But you saw immediately the speaker pulling out a ruling saying, oh, we are going to do it at the plenary.
Right.
The technical issue is this. When you do it with a committee, and the committee conducts a trial, like you've seen with the governors, you must go through every charge one by one, okay, and then give your reasons why you are recommending a vote to say yes or no with respect to each of the charges. But when you do it at the plenary, that safeguard impeachment because it is a trial. You see, remember, Senate is supposed to give a verdict. A verdict is like a judgment. When you are making a judgment, you are supposed to give reasons for your decisions. But the plenary, I think it was a strategy to expect that you will avoid the duty to give a verdict and place everything to vote where you are likely to carry the day and avoid the inconvenience of proving that something actually happened. Of course, if you did that, and I was on the team of Deputy President Gachagua, I'll clap for you because there can be no verdict that is not based on reasons. But when you read the rules that the Speaker of the Senate has made, there is no provision, for example, that after Gachagua gives his defense, they are going to retire and have some kind of a committee that we write the decision and say this was proved, this was not proved. They have made the rules to say Gachagua finishes writing, let's go to vote. That would be catastrophic. And to finish on this, if it is messed by the Senate, it becomes a constitutional duty of the High Court to stop people from making a mockery, making a monkey out of the 2010 Constitution.
Would you agree with those reasons?
This is intellectual parochialism. with much due respect, because one deputy president is a politician, and therefore the charges will rise around politics. I don't expect him to be a highway robber or to have human trafficking charges, and therefore what you call political is within the context of where deputy president operates. He's an elected leader, he's a politician, and therefore those charges will be political. But even so, they
But what do you mean? What do you mean the charges are political? I mean, it's 11
misuse of office, for example, violating public trust. Those charges are not idle. Those are constitutional text. So that there is this thinking that until I come with a criminal offense, then now that is serious. Yet criminal offense are below the Constitution, and therefore the impeachment and the charges are actually talking of. The Constitution says that the office and the public officer, for example, their job is to unite the people. That's in the Constitution. That's one of our values. So if you violate that, how is that idle? Yet it is an actual constitutional text in there. So the crime that you'll operate if you are a journalist will be more or less around your work. And therefore there is nothing idle because it's constitutional text. But even beyond that, when you look at the violation of the public trust, and they claim that you made this statement on this date and this date, it's inconsistent with your office, that office is supposed to be a unifying factor. It is an office that wields a lot of power in the executive. You can do a lot of good and a lot of harm, and therefore if you are habitually, and that is where the grossness comes. You are habitually doing this in a way that is excluding and is promoting a certain interest. Then you are really abusing the office, and so those charges are prima facie meeting the constitutional text. And what higher crime can it be than being accused of violating the actual constitution? So yes, it will not be that we found that this is a criminal conduct. There is actually some criminal issues there. But I think overall, what the parliament did, look at the number of the supermajority that is required in order to impeach. Look at the case that you are supposed to put before them. And finally, look at the constitutional design. For other places, the consequence of impeachment are so dire that we go for election. Here, it's only that there is a reset within that same government. So there is the constitution thought through from the beginning to the end. And therefore, I don't think those charges are idle at all.
Let me answer to that.
It's intellectual parochial.
Yeah, no. I don't care. You know, he's a politician. I don't bother with that. So the issue is this. There is the issue of Article 150 of the Constitutions that talks about the grounds of impeachment, violations of the constitutions, criminality, and is it not incompetence? There are three. But violations of criminal law, issues like the constitutions, those are the main, and abuse of office, of course. Now, the most interesting thing is this, and impeachment, just to say what I've previously said, because it is obvious,
Right.
that and he had talked about the issue of vote of no confidence. In a vote of no confidence, it is enough. Those statements that Gachagua was making, it would have entitled the politicians to pass a vote of no confidence against him. But now the safeguard of Article 150 is this, going to make all those statements out there about shareholders, about Usiguze Mrima, and all these kind of things, may not work out politically with certain groups of Kenyans. But from the standpoint of the law would not be concerned with that very much. The law, on the contrary, and that is why you have been hearing people saying, Kufa Makanga Kufa Dereva, would be there is all the laws, statutory and the constitution says, who makes appointments. When you look at who makes appointment, there is no single appointment that is made by the deputy president. But despite that, a lot of appointments have been made. These are things that have been circulating on the media, that we have tribalized, ethnicized the Kenyan state. These ethnicizations of the Kenyan state, you can actually say, as the Gen Z and everybody else is saying, it is President Ruto who is most responsible for that. There is no doubt about it. Yet, this is the same person who has sponsored a motion against his deputy who does not make any appointment. So it is that hypocritical. We go now to all these other charges that he says that what you have been entrusted upon you. As it were, this has been a deputy president who, for practical purposes, has not been in charge of anything of significance. We've had Adani. We've had the cooking edible oil scandal. We've had like 10 mega scandals. We know the ministers. We know the other offices, including the office of the president, has been touched by some of these scandals. The deputy president's office, strictly speaking, has not been covered by the scandals. That little thing that they were talking about, for example, renovations. Now, for the renovation, that was one of the biggest circuses you can come across, because the money for renovation was passed by Parliament. So the big question is going to be, so when you gave money for renovations, what were you thinking about? Because it is for Parliament, for example, to say, like you are saying with this social health stuff, national SHA. With this SHA, it is clear between 80 to 100 billion is mixed on. But Parliament said it's okay, because there is no software anywhere. Even the one that the Russians are fighting Ukraine with, or the one that triumphs Iron Dome, that can cost this kind of money. So that the scenario that we are having is that on the basis of what is there, it's a purely numbers game. The Constitution, and there is a whole history of impeachment across the world where it is. The Constitution provisions for impeachment is to ensure if we say so-and-so is a rapist, we should be able to say we can place that person with this woman somewhere. But if you cannot, it is not impeachable, because it only means it is trial by politicians. But that's all. It doesn't mean that the politicians are free to do anything under the sun. And that's why I'm saying here, the courts are being placed in a situation that either you embarrass Kenya and then let these things stick, or you tell them you cannot just do anything, any monkey game, and you get away with it. And I think for me it would be a good thing, so that the courts are actually being told effectively to do a bigger job. Ordinarily, they will not even want to interfere. But if you present to them such a crazy scenario, like the one you are having currently, it is their duty to interfere.
Yeah. We have appraised our students to watch the trial tomorrow. It's a constitutional moment, very important for Kenya, and I know there is a lot which is going to come up. But I don't think the constitution is opaque on this, because we are so much used to punishing and looking at criminals who look like criminal, because look at how he is dressed, look at how the border is parked, look at this chicken thief. But Kenyans look like they still are not used to the white collar crime. The crime where somebody does while holding a glass of juice, and they look cool and they look decent and they look okay. It doesn't look like crime, and that is the resistance I'm seeing from Wakili. That it doesn't look bad, but it is bad because. Wakil.
Because you are hoping so.
Because you have to look at the Constitution. Let the Constitution be our starting point. That this Constitution did not come from a vacuum. This Constitution came when we were tired of a society being torn apart, of the presidency being used as to reward others and punish others. And there is several reports about it, that finally Kenyans thought they have found the answer by saying now, we also want to elevate the office of the deputy president so that they cannot be removed by the president willy-nilly, but we are going to give this power, and we want the two of you to do A, B, and C to us. And therefore, when you violate that trust, he tend to think those are just words, and words are cheap. Some people might say that people speak from the heart, but that office itself, you know that a public servant is required.
But is he the only one who's said the things that he said? If we just go granular.
Okay, that's a fair question, and he was making the same question.
Yeah.
I don't think that dealing with KEMSA is waste of time, and on this impeachment, there's the issue of KEMSA. And therefore, that is at the heart of the issue of corruption. Because when Parliament put their foot down and start dealing with corruption, you will see changes in this country. When Parliament starts saying no more, yeah, and therefore, no. Now back to your question. Is it the only one?
Yes.
I mean, is that even an excuse?
Professor, it's
others have done it. No, others have done it as have never been an excuse. That others have done it because we are used to others.
So we are drawing the line with him. Is that your argument? I just want to understand why him and why now.
Why him? Of course, impeachment come because one, you are politically weak. Two, you have also violated the Constitution and the trust. Three, it is also solving political issues, because if you can't work with the cabinet, for example, where you disagree with the cabinet position and you are sitting there in the cabinet, then there is a problem. You cannot be part of that cabinet. So it's solving a lot of issues.
May I just remind you?
Yes.
1 second.
The cat out of the bag.
Yes. the president, current president, disagreed since COVID with President Uhuru Kenyatta and went out and said, you know, taxes, questionable things. Why wasn't he on the chopping block?
So then the lesson then, if you draw the parallel, before you disagree, have some political muscles. Yeah, that's the truth. So you cannot say Johnny did it and he wasn't caught. Now how come I'm being caught for hitting this ball on the window? You have been caught. You have to answer on your own. And therefore, what the deputy... Remember, this is comparing apples and oranges, both edible fruits, but they are different because by the time the handshake was happening during President Uhuru's term, actually there was suspicion that it was actually even the deputy president who might even want to impeach the president. So it was not, it wasn't possible to impeach him. But now you are in a situation where you violate the trust, you don't have the numbers, that is the reality, but you have also violated the constitution, you disagree with the cabinet decision that is sacred, those are the charges there in the four corners, you go and talk about the security issue about NIS and all that, and you are a deputy president, can you still work with that team?
I was saying he has let the cat out of the bag because he has said that one, if you are politically weak and if you want to solve political problems of chemistry that is lost or political ambition
on top of
that are being changed,
habitual
then
violations,
you can be able now to use impeachment.
Right.
Now, that is now the first serious abuse of the Constitution. The Constitution, when it specified 3 grounds for impeachment, was to exclude these kind of things that my colleague is talking about. That political fitina and ambitions are not part of the issues that you can impeach on. That's the law, clearly written. Now, and this explains, as we have said, what this is all about. Because the reason why he could not answer the questions you answered, it boils down to what Senator Okiya Omtatah said. Why are we so concerned with the pickpocket and letting the robber get away with it? It is the same case when you had these public participations that ordinary people on the ground could say, this looks like a mockery. It looked like a joke. Like this man in a country with so many crimes, because I told you there are 10 major, if we had time, 10 major financial corruptions that have taken place. None of this is a deputy president implicated. When you hear about this KEMSA, you know you can get away with it, 5 billion. But to the very simple charge, the fact of the matter is, his company, and this is evidence that has been, we've seen both sides of the evidence, was an agent of some other company that tendered. And that company did not even win the tender. So how one can be able for a tender by another company that was even lost, make a serious case of impeachment, what it actually proves are 2 things. The extent to which he was an outsider in this government, and the extent to which, as Okiya Omtatah said, he was truly a pickpocket in a cabinet of robbers. This is what comes out clearly. And that's why I'm saying that this is going to be interesting. And talking about political strength, on the face of it, and the big numbers that President Ruto came up with for this motion, he appears to be a measure of strength. But to me, this is a measure of weakness. And I say that for 2 reasons. Number one, If you reach a stage in your political tenure as a president that you find it that you want to reconstitute your government, starting from the deputy, in which would result first of all in killing your own political party, UDA, okay, and the political alliance called Kenya Kwanza, it is a measure of weakness, not strength. Number two, it appears for the first time, I have always associated with President Ruto with good judgment, but this looks to me like a massive own goal. A massive own goal in two perspectives. Number one, it is obvious that the Gen Z, where it hit him so hard, and the aftershocks of it is these things like the impeachment you are seeing, and the parallels, the abductions that you are also seeing for the ordinary wananchi. What do they share in common? What they share in common is that the previous strategy, Ojwang is aware of it, was to reconstitute UDA into some kind of a Chinese Communist Party. That project has been abandoned for practical purposes. You are actually seeing a situation whereby as we move forward, President Ruto is going to more and more rely on ODM for his own political survival.
So did
and therefore for me,
so did President Uhuru do in the last
precisely, and it was a weakness, not strength.
Yes.
So that what is appearing as strength is actually a weakness. The second weakness is this. When you go like you went for an overkill, you want to go for 300 MPs in the National Assembly. In the Senate, perhaps you will go for 50. Okay? Why is it a weakness? It's a weakness for this reason. You want to finish Gachagua, but Gachagua, you may not actually be able to finish him politically with the impeachment. What you are sure it will finish are all these other in Kikuyu land, they are called Togeges. All these other people that in Kikuyu land are called Togeges and Komereras. You are going to finish them politically.
What are those Togeges?
Togeges basically it means people who don't get it, who don't talk in parliament, who basically, you see, like when there was debate, and you saw it in the National Assembly, and you see it at the Senate,
right.
They usually have nothing to say. They just look at things happen, then they are asked to vote. They say yes or no. That is what it means. Those groups that he assembled in Mount Kenya region have been finished politically. So that in the next 3 years, you are going to see a scenario in which at the grassroots, nobody would credibly be able to speak for William Ruto. So it's a massive own goal from this impeachment.
So I want to go to the closing side and ask another political question. Let me start with you, Ojwang. Who pays the political price for what is happening in this country at this moment?
I'm not so much interested in political price or politician. I'm interested that our constitution has found a formula of always purging itself, resetting when we have made mistake, and that finally it is true that there is no the sovereign are the people and not the king. You know, even if you look at traditionally, even in our customs, when a king is incompetent or unable to perform, we were able to change them. So for me, the winners, if so to speak, to change your question, it's the constitution, it's the Kenyans, and if you look at the whole political scene, finally Kenyans have found an issue of saying, I know I'm bad, but I know where we don't want to go. We don't want to go back to where the presidency was a ticket to exclude others. We want to have the constitutional value of unity, and we are in a better position to unite Kenyans than those sitting in those high offices. Now,
may I ask, do you genuinely believe that the way government is constituted and positions have been distributed, it espouses the best version of Kenya? There is no hint of tribalism. Is that what you want to say?
No, but we must perfect our union. I believe there is, it must be there, it is there, and if it is there, it's not there as our character, but an aberration of a character. And so that is why, when it comes out ugly like this, everyone is saying, we might be seeing this, but you cannot stand on a podium and proclaim that your platform is going to be stewarding the line to accessing goodies based on how you vote, because you are violating the people's constitutional right under Article 38 to form political party, to express their will whichever way. If you are now going to match benefits and any opportunity with how people have voted. So I'm not so much worried. Is this going to fix all our problems? And Wakili have highlighted a lot of problems we might have. No, and I don't think anyone is claiming that this is the solution to every Kenya problem. But it will dent in a big way the issue of tribalism, which has been a cancer of this country. And therefore, Kenyans are winners.
Help me with this.
Well, it's in the bigger scheme of Kenyan politics. Gachagua occupies a very important position, but is a very nominal player in the politics and the power game as it has existed for the last 2 years. So whether or not you get him out of the way and use the positions to trade politically, for me, it is not a big thing. And for me, it is just evidence of the fact that in a country that is staring at bankruptcy, I see you dealing with business. You know, Kenya is staring at bankruptcy. The government of Kenya is failing in day by day. You can't get the county's money in good time. You have messed up the health system, the university education. Virtually everything is messed up. Then all that we are seeing being done are to play political games to hunt the antelope. This can't change anything, and you saw it during the public participation. Issue number 2, politically, is this, that arising out of the Gen Z, and the president is yet to come to terms with that, the impact on his legitimacy. He's operating on a very low legitimacy. Getting rid of the DP is one manifestation of it. Extrajudicial executions and abductions is another manifestation of it. I'm sure Ojwang is aware that in Latin America during the time of Pinochet, when you have a leader with very low legitimacy, you get what we call a dangerous presidency. A dangerous presidency is when the president does not have legitimacy and is politically insecure. So over the next 3 years, you can actually be able to witness greater human rights violations and scorched earth theft of public funds. Because now you are no longer sure of re-elections, you are no longer what is tomorrow going to be. The third thing is the return of crude politics. Crude politics in the sense that when you can get a hate group, people who unite on an agenda of hate, then the position is this alliance of hate, where are you going to take it to? The first thing, which is dangerous, we already have a dangerous bill that subverts the constitution. That is we are supposed to embark on it on the 25th of October to amend the constitution. Now, this kind of Museveni, Kagame kind of politics, backward politics that we thought the 2010 constitution is supposed to give us immunity from, might return. And this is not going to be a happy place for our country. So we hope, against all the odds, that the High Court and the higher judiciary will have the confidence and the integrity to try to protect Kenya from the specter
But isn't that
of a dangerous
putting the judiciary in an awkward position?
It is, but it is the only option as I see it. Because you see, the scheme of things, you remember I took time to say you have safeguards. The president, do the right thing. You don't seem to do the right thing. National Assembly, do the right thing. You get Wetangula. And it was sorry, by the way, to see Wetangula, a senior lawyer, somebody who has a decorated record historically, as a person who can stand up for something, losing at the very lowest that you can imagine impartiality. That as a speaker, you needed to go there and instill confidence that this is a credible process. But it wasn't credible, where even your own deputy is the one talking about treason. Treason is very serious, and it's not in the charges. It was a mockery. And you remember, and even for me, let me even say this because it is important. On that day, I took away my time in the afternoon to go home to listen to see these deliberations. And the most important what I needed to see, about 10% or about 10 MPs are people you would respect and you'd want to hear. What will Amolo Otiende say? What would be so and so say on this thing? But when I saw nobody was actually speaking on these charges, it just confirmed the thing is a big mess. Because they would say, I can say I know Smart is an intelligent guy, or I know Juang this way. So on a big day, I say, what would Juang say? If Juang appears to be running away from the issue, it confirmed for me everything that needed to be confirmed.
Has it done from the issue tonight?
No, just a bit.
Yes, just a bit.
But he has a constituency to defend. Yeah. It's a difficult constituency, as we are saying, that comes with a desperate presidency. But he has done a good job.
No, there's a lot of populism. It's not good because and he's able to see a squirrel but not the elephant. And that is that's a very bad disease when you are able to see a squirrel very well but not the elephant. Things fail or succeed based on leadership. And we are fixing our governance issue. This impeachment, if you take from the first issue to 11, it's really speaking to the governance. And I still believe that if we get our governance right, and this one is resetting that issue of governance, we don't want a country where, for example, somebody is meant to feel guilty because they voted a certain way or they come from a certain region. That is basic. And so this impeachment is fixing our issue of humanity. As Africans, we have been human for longer than other races. Let us at least be decent human. And therefore, the issue of humanity was at stake, where you are saying others are more human than others. And once we have fixed that issue of humanity and our governance problem, then you can understand that for you to think so low, because Wakili is talking as if he knows the result of the Senate. I still believe that those are people representative who look at the evidence. And of course, I'm also expecting a lot of firework tomorrow, because you know there's a close examination. Yeah. And over there, you know, a lot of things will come. For example, a valid question of the case that I now became fond of, about the will, where this guy rises from coma, signs a will, and then dies 4 days later, when his older brother is there to visit him in London. Those are now going to be clear subject of cross-examination. How come, how did this spoil get shared? And we know... No, but the door was open. And in cross-examination, we are now talking of integrity. We are talking of habitual lying, and we are talking of habitual threatening people, and habitually so remember, in the defense, which I thought was a poor strategy, because part of the cases have been executed in the media, but in the defense of those charges and how the property was acquired, the issue of the will became at the heart of these are property inherited. And therefore, can you say that it is idle if the issue of the will come, and whether in the four corners of that will it was considered will, it was done in an objective way, and therefore I'm just giving viewers be warned that tomorrow I'm expecting a lot of good drama. And I'm expecting a lot of details in terms of credibility. But beyond that, let us fix our governance problem, and let us not think that constitutional measures are there for idle talk, and think that a criminal is the one who have robbed people with the gun. If you are given an office of public, you take that office in public trust. When you violate that crime is done at the heart of every Kenya. You have actually violated the society. And fortunately, the law has a way, and the law is melancholic. It does not forgive, it remembers. And therefore, if it comes and remembers all what you have done and revisit, so be it.
Okay, I won't finish, but final thoughts?
Yeah.
1 minute.
Yeah, the issue, not because I want to do any defense, but for integrity requires you to say that there is no charge that revolves around any fraud to do with the will or forcing anybody to do anything. And if that thing were to arise, because I do not think the probate proceedings are concluded, I believe they are still going on. It would be for anybody who is wronged, and these are private cases, to go to court and challenge it. Those people have not done that, then they will not be witnesses. And it cannot move from Milimani, the probate division, and go to the Senate to be tried. So when you see like they are trying to latch onto that, it actually tells a big story that the real thing they put there is nothing that can stand the test. For example, there is that MP who sells him land in 2015, he signs, then it turns out what is supposed to have been stolen, he bought. That is just an aside. For me, for purposes, there will be drama, undoubtedly.
For sure.
And the drama is particularly there when the prosecutor has a bogus case and must now dramatize the case, and politically this is important for him to appear to be saying anything serious. So drama will be there, galore. There will be a lot of drama. That's again neither here nor there. The critical issue, whatever happens to tomorrow, by the way, if Gachagua is impeached, a big group of the educated elite Kikuyu, some of whom I get conversations with, are actually likely to be very happy for this simple reason, that when Gachagua took the Wananchi, the farmers, the Christians, he took them to UDA, the discussion has been, how on earth are we going to get these people of ours from this stupor that took them to UDA and bring them to sanity? The fact that now they are evicting Gachagua from UDA is a blessing in disguise, that the stupor that our people are put in the year 2022 is going to be over. So it's going to be a good result up to that stage. But the more critical one now at the country level, because there are two dimensions, regional and country. At the country level, something that is most regrettable. Our house, the Republic of Kenya, for practical purposes, is on fire for anybody who follows the public finance. And in a country that is on fire, we are seeing a scenario where the rat that is appearing to be running away from the fire is what the president seems to be obsessed with. And therefore, whenever the president of your country, Barack Obama, when he was in Kenya, said it, a country fails when its president fails. And so, when you watch and see, instead of the serious economic problems, investment issues facing the country, the president is more obsessed with political games. Kenya is failing. You keep scoring on goals, and it does not just have implications on the president, it has implications on the entire country. It's sad, as I conclude, to say we are now competing with Tanzania, who is abducting more than others. We are now competing with Rwanda and Uganda, who will get a longer term for politicians than the other. Kenya was never meant to be like that you are playing in the league of Somalia, in the league of Uganda and Tanzania and Rwanda. It's a shame. And we should all reflect on this and look for ways, particularly those who are close to the president, to say that Kenya ought to be better than this.
Okay. 30 seconds.
Yes, for some of us whose heart bleed when this constitution is violated, we feel that the constitution is having its day again of constituting us towards a better country, dignifying the office of the president and the deputy president. I think, and I honestly wish all the parties, because I'm not involved, we are observer. We wish them all the best in tomorrow's trial in the Senate. But I think that we are in a better situation as a country because we are having a constitution about our governance, and we are having a constitution about inclusivity. The conversation about inclusivity and the conversation about using those high offices to bring us together and not to tear us apart, to me is a very important conversation. If it goes on in court for years and years, so be it. But I think that this will go a long way in denting this idea that people take the public office out of public trust and use them for personal or use them for to divide and to tear Kenyans apart. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much, Dr. Duncan Ojwang, Wakili Kibe Mungai. Fascinating tomorrow, drama galore. You've been watching this special series hours before the Senate sits to determine determine that question on the impeachment of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. We'll be live from 6 in the morning until the Fat Lady sings. My name is James Smart. Have a lovely night.
And we're back here on The Explainer with Kalonzo Musyoka, Senior Counsel, Wiper Party leader and former Vice President of the Republic of Kenya from 2008 to the year 2013, talking about the big events that have taken the country's attention, which he says are a diversionary tactic.
Yes, indeed. Let me reiterate that point. But before I do, I know that some of our viewers are a bit concerned as to why a presidential candidate, right, would find it opportune to come to the studios. And this is what I think young Kenyans, the Gen Z generation in particular, have been trying to tell us, that to get rid of our egos, because elsewhere in developed democracies, those who are interested in elective office go out and meet. Media is very important, and that's so I'm happy that you invited me to come over. Back to the question, we consider that this whole impeachment drama and fever is diversionary, because there are issues that are of serious concern to the nation at the present moment. Yesterday we talked about capture of the state by, we call them quote-unquote merchants of Venice, and I was accompanied by some of my colleagues in the loyal opposition movement, the Honorable Eugene Wamala, Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, Secretary General of Jubilee, and Eugene is party leader of DAP, and a host of other leaders who came, including Babayao, who was also always available. So we think that instead of dealing with this impeachment, the thing is a smokescreen, to avoid the issues that are affecting the ordinary Kenyans. We talked of state capture and likened what is happening in the country right now to what happened that time during President Zuma in South Africa. The Gupta family that took over a whole country, and it was very costly to President Zuma. So we are thinking here, this undone thing, and we must also quickly say we have nothing personal. I don't know who undone's are. In fact, Prime Minister Modi, Prime Minister of India, is a very reputable international leader. I remember visiting him when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat State. And so nothing personal about anything. But really we are saying that before investors come into this country, they have to do due diligence. Do you know that Kenyans online have already done due diligence on what this Andani group is all about? Okay? Separate from the matter of PPP, public-private partnership, which is a law itself not very clearly understood and elaborated. So when we say it was diversionary, that's what we mean. We have a state capture of our own critical infrastructure. You think of power generation and transmission, KETRACO, under state capture. And they have even now, of course, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport itself. It's a serious matter. Critical national infrastructure.
Yeah.
I am not aware of any country in the world which would give out its international airport to outside investors because of the security implications. All right? So this is what we call diversionary. But instead, what is happening? A whole drama about impeachment of the deputy president.
We'll come back and talk about the impeachment for a moment. But it's interesting that you say you don't know who Adani is. Senator Dan Manzo, right here on Citizen Television earlier this week, claimed that the Indian firm Adani Group in fact sponsored Raila Odinga's presidential campaign in 2012.
U.S. citizen, you can vote from here, and even here. Using an absentee ballot, Americans who are traveling or living abroad have the right to vote from anywhere, whether by email, postal mail, or by dropping your ballot off at a U.S. embassy or consulate. Make sure you don't miss the next election. Request your ballot today.
Pamper your skin with 48 hours superior moisturization with new Dove Body Lotions, combining 6 benefits and one formulation for superior care. Get touchably soft, healthy-looking skin with Dove Body Lotions.
Yeah. Joint ticket for which you were his running mate.
Well, yeah. When so, people are running for office.
So now that I'm asking you, because you were Raila, you were Raila Odinga's running mate in 2012.
Yeah.
Did Adani Group sponsor your presidential campaign?
I can tell you I wouldn't know, because when you have a presidential candidate, how they organize their finances normally is all left to themselves. And the running mate, and I think as Gachagua might himself probably concede, when it comes to fundraising for a presidential campaign, it is different. But having said that, I actually called Dan Manzo and told him he needs to apologize to Baba, because Baba is still his party leader as of now. Okay, so that is a matter that I do not want to comment on. The point is, I don't know.
Because you're here and you were on that ticket.
Yeah.
So you're saying you don't know, or Adani was not involved?
I have no idea who Adani is. I've never met him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he didn't fund the campaigns, or did he?
I wouldn't know. How would I know? Because look at it, and this is the issue. Perhaps it is the core of what we are discussing.
Yeah.
Maybe Gachagua did not know how William Ruto funded his campaign.
Okay.
It is not always that because you're the running mate, you bring all the money to one basket.
But Mr. Alonso, help us understand.
It doesn't work that way.
All right. So how does it work? Because when we spoke to you here just a few minutes ago, you said the ticket is joint. It is one.
Yes.
Right?
But joint ticket does not mean joint financing, joint everything. It is in law a joint ticket.
Yes.
But when it comes to campaign financing...
In law is one thing, but help us understand then how this relationship works between a candidate, a presidential candidate and their running mate, a president and their deputy president. Because from what you're saying, from your personal experience with running with Raila Odinga in 2012.
Yeah, and 2013.
Yes.
And in 2017.
Correct.
All right.
So from what you're saying, this isn't then a joint ticket. Might be on paper or in law, but it isn't a joint ticket in the sense that you're working together. Is that what you're saying? Is the relationship
I'm telling you,
between the two?
Let me tell you, look at all this. Perhaps even look at Kamala Harris's campaign, which has raised a lot of money, all right? And of course that of Donald Trump. When you have the president, right, running as president, he has a team, including a campaign financiers and others who actually not even get to be known. But I can tell you my own experience straight away. I never asked Raila Odinga, can we raise money here? How much money have you raised? I never did.
Why?
Because it was not appropriate.
Why not?
It was not appropriate.
Why?
And maybe that is why I'm different.
Okay,
because
let me
I came out supporting Raila Odinga with my own resources.
Why would it not be appropriate for you? Your name is on the ticket.
Yeah.
You are the running mate.
Yeah.
If you would have won the election, you would be the deputy president.
Yeah.
And possibly next in line should a vacancy arise in the office of the president.